All right, so let's kick off with, I just kind of gave my worldview of the two of you. We have a lot of young people in this room. You got a lot of time. You got a lot of time on your engines. You've done a lot of things. But you, in doing all those things, were able to capture a vision of what the future needed. And we got a lot of young people in this room who are asking themselves, what is that future that you see that should inspire them to make decisions that they aren't going to get in their schools and they won't necessarily get in the newspaper? But people with vision and experience, what would you tell them to watch and do?
Okay, I would say that first of all, I think knowing who you are. Don't let somebody define who you are. And one of my favorite scriptures that I remember and reside and I captured in my memory and in my heart for many, many years is in Ephesians 3:20. It says, "Glory be to God that works within us, that can do exceedingly above all that you can think, dream, or pray for." That's you. That resides in you, in every one of us. So don't let somebody define who you are. You're already something very, very special. You're someone who is uniquely designed to do exactly only you can do. And that's the thing that inspires me, because I see our young people as being our future. And my ability to be able to, what I see beyond my ability to be able to physically be here is dependent upon my ability to be able to depart that encouragement and excitement and enthusiasm about the possibilities through what God has so richly given you. And so if I think about everything that I think about today is the past of a mind living my life worthy of what someone provided for me and the seed that they've sown in me, and honoring them in a way that's significant through my actions by helping someone else. And so as I look at my life, there's a sense of urgency for me, because I'm a little older than all of you. And I think about eternity and how do I live beyond my ability to be able to physically be here. And so every decision is about eternity, and I see that through you.
Wow, beautiful.
You know, I would just add a few things, and I think one of the things that's most important is to recognize that you have the ability to transform yourself. You are, in fact, able to become whatever you want to become. And often, when we don't have good role models, we don't have a sense of what we can be, we kind of flounder. And one of the things I learned, it's often more important to know what you don't want to be and what you don't want to do, and to move progressively kind of toward the light. Reinvent yourself. Put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable. Meet new people. Really recognize that you need to be and have the capacity to be materially different and better every year. And so I think one of the things that I tell young people is don't settle. As Dave said, don't let other people define who you are and what you can do. Don't be a victim. Be an actor. Be a person who grabs the future and recognizes that real success, the kind of success Dave's had, the kind of success I have, is all about the progressive elimination of failure. The failures I've had in my life would fill the walls of this room in the smallest type you could imagine. But I never let it stop me from doing the things that I believed I needed to do. I just crossed that one off and said, next. Now I know that doesn't work. I'm going to find a way.
Thank you, that's awesome. So our designer, so fundamental to the NAF kind of mantra has always been this powerful partnership between the education place and the workplace. The role of educators and teachers in an educational system and the role of educators and teachers in a workplace system. But for many years, those were seen as very different functional designs. And part of the mantra for NAF has always been, no, this is about all of us supporting all of our young people to opportunity and success. And the teaching happens in different ways in different places. That's easy to say. It's hard to make systems play well together. They naturally compete. They naturally define whose job it is to do what part of developing a human being to be a successful person. And I think part of the NAF magic has always been saying that we're in this together to pull this off. Talk to me a little bit about, as we aspire to serve more and to make this less of the exception and more of the rule of how education happens in this country, talk to us about how we can do a better job of encouraging and developing a partnership between the education systems and the workplace systems.
You know, there's an expression that issues divide, tasks unite. And I think one of the things that can be done is to bring people together to collaborate on how we create the next generation. You know, when you're young and you're just getting started, your question is, where will I get the opportunity? Who will give me a chance? When you're running a major corporation, your question is, where on earth am I going to get the people who can do the job, who are ambitious, who really want to work and really want to contribute? And how do we draw that circle that's a bigger circle that brings in that next generation and helps them develop? And so I think collaboration, the opportunity to share perspectives and to bring the academic and teacher community into the business setting, and for the business community to go into that setting and determine that they have a joint similarity of our obligation to create the next generation of leaders in this country.
I have a lot of favorite scriptures, so bear with me. A counsel of many is a wise counsel. It's all us working together. And there's no I in team either. One of the things that I've spent my entire career doing is finding relationships that make me better than I am alone. I've challenged myself that on the basketball court. I've challenged myself that in business, because our business is designed to collaborate and partner with the biggest IT companies in the world, and we're a fraction of their size in many cases. But that people want to work with us because we put their best interests first. We always are looking for finding ways to benefit them and serve in a way that is going to enhance their capability over ourselves. And that's the same way in the community as well. We're out there in the community looking, how do we serve in a way that enhances our educational system, and putting the best interest of that first, because we know eventually all of us are going to benefit as a result of that. Rising tides rise all boats. We recognize that the diversity at the table in our business is going to be critical in our ability to be able to innovate as well. And so what better partners will we have than the educational system? How do we improve that? How do we put ourselves in a better position? How do we get diversity, encourage others, and be an example for them to be at the table as well, to get them excited about not only the educational system, but excited about the potential opportunities as a result of them getting that education as well. And putting them in an educational environment in our business as well. Give them the experience, give them the exposure, and partnering with the educational partners to be able to do that. And be the example. I think be an example for is kind of our beachhead and what we've tried to do in St. Louis and across the country in order to provide that and inspire others to do the same. And then putting your money where your mouth is. I mean, not only putting money out there, but putting time out there. I will tell you, time it takes time to do this. And it takes patience to do this. And you got to get outside your ego as well. Ego, edging God out, right? So you got to find ways to be able to work with people and make them better as a result of you being involved with it. And no authorship on what's done as well. Success. I have a lot of great people that I have the pleasure, honor of working with. And I tell you what, they are the ones who really make it happen. And it's that partnership, what I can do, and what they can do and what we can do together that makes it work.
Great. So on a close, I will be remiss. We try to do this in some form every year. If I don't ask each of you to look in your crystal ball. I promise this won't be published in the New York Times and you won't be held to it. But it used to be we would set strategic goals around this year in our future that was so crazy far away. How many of us spent any time on what we were going to get done by 2020, right? Well, guess what? It's right around the corner. So I'm going to up that ante a little bit and say the year's 2030. Give us a glimpse of the world you see from an economic perspective, a social perspective, a political perspective, your call. Give me your crystal ball of what 2030 in this room, what are we talking about?
I would challenge everybody in here to think a little bit outside the box. And I got another favorite scripture. My people perish for the lack of vision, and all things are possible. So you have to stretch yourself just a little bit to think in that way. And when I talked earlier about glory be to God that works within us that can do exceedingly above all that you think, dream, or pray for, that's beyond your comprehension. I want you to think bigger. I want you to walk in the promise. I want you to have confidence and reassurance and faith that everything is possible. And guess what? And you're so wonderfully, specially made to do it, and have the capability of being able to do it. I can't tell you what's going to happen in 2030, but I will be there if I'm alive to do it with you, okay?
That's good. I'll take that.
Well, I'm trying to predict what will happen in 2030, and I'll first talk about how I think about the future.
Okay.
And many people talk about strategy and strategic planning, and the way I found to bring it to life to people is imagine you had a time machine, and you could get in your time machine, and you could take it to 2030, and you got out of that time machine, and you toured the city. And you saw what people were doing and what they were eating and what they were buying. And then you got back in your time machine and you came back to today. You would spend the next time, 20 plus years, 12 plus years, building a bridge to that future. And so the thing I want us to do when we think about 2030 is to think about in every city that NAF has an academy, there's an event that's 10 times this size, with the students who are here today sitting on this stage being interviewed about their success and why NAF is such a fundamentally important part of our fabric in America. That's my vision of the future.
Whoa, love it. Very well done. So, they've got exactly 58 seconds. Let's see if there is a control factor here. So one quick question that I've heard from several students here. A tip, a piece of advice. I would just, off the top of your head.
The answer is, get out of your comfort zone. Someone asked me to go ice fishing. Now, I'm a kid from the south side of Chicago, and I thought that was, how do you fish for ice? How do you go ice fishing? What is that all about? I went, made great friends, and one of the guys I met on that trip turned out to tip me to the very best job opportunity I ever got. You get out of your comfort zone.
Love it. Love it.
I agree with that. I would say faith. faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen, a belief in the unseen, looking beyond your circumstances. All things are possible. All things are possible. It's possible. And I really believe that we're here in this room reshaping, redefining what education looks like for the future. And I'm excited about the future because of all of you.